Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video I will be building a Linux template based on CentOS 8.0. This video is part of my series on building an enterprise network. Please remember to support the channel by subscribing and clicking the like button. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let's get the intro out of the way so we can start. Welcome back. So our first task will be to upload our ISO image for CentOS 8.0. Alright, so I'm going to log directly into the host and then drop down the storage and see if I can upload the file here. Alright, that appears to be working. So I will speed up the footage, and when this is done, I will continue. Alright, so I'm going to create a new virtual machine. I'm going to click next, actually go back, and then I'm going to call this CentOS 8.0 template, and then click next again, click next again, change this to Linux and change the OS version to CentOS 64 bits. I'm going to do 2 CPUs and 2 gigs of RAM for the template, as well as 100 gigs. I'm going to make sure that this is then provisioned. And change this to SecNet Serve, which is our member server network. Click OK. And I'm going to leave the rest as default. Finish. And now I'm going to edit and attach the ISO. So we're going to do ISO on the data store. ISO images and CentOS. I'm going to click connect and click OK. And then I'm going to power this on. And click on console. Alright, I'm going to install CentOS Linux 8. Alright, so we're going to leave the language as English and United States. Alright, so I'm going to start off by changing this to minimal install of Linux. And I don't think I'm going to install anything any additional software. As for this, I'm going to do a custom partition table. Trying to decide if I want to use LVM or stick to standard partitions, but for this I'll do an LVM. So the first thing I'm going to do is a /boot partition, which I'm going to give this 1 gig, which should be more than enough. And then I'm going to create I'll do a 4 gig swap. And then I'm going to put the rest of the free space at the root. In some cases, I would not do this. I would build out home, var, varlog, varlog audit, and several other as separate partitions. But for this case, I'm going to keep it simple and just put all the free space at root. And I think I'm going to rename this to TechNet. Why not? Save that. And I'm going to leave the rest as defaults. I'm going to accept the changes, and I'm going to configure the network. So I'm going to call this Linux temp.secnetwork.org. Apply that, turn this on, and I should get an IP address, which I did. Click done, and begin installation. And I'm going to set the root password for, I'm going to set the password for root. Alright, so it didn't like my first password, but it took the second one. And these are temporary passwords, which I will reset once the system is finished booting. Alright, and that is complete. So I'm going to let this finish installing and jump over to the firewall, which is not this. And log into here. I gotta create a rule. Alright, I'm gonna jump over to policies. And I'm going to create a temporary policy for our template, which I will put here. So I actually created a patch rule, a patch management rule. So I'll put the new rule underneath of that, and I'm going to call this temp yum updates. This will be an interzone rule. The source is going to be secnet serve, and then the IP is going to be a range of 10.051.241 through 10.051.249. As for the destination, this will be the WAN, and the applications are going to be NTP, SSL, web browsing, and yum. I'm going to leave the defaults there, and commit. And jump back over. So I'll let that commit and stay over here. Alright, I'm going to speed up the footage. Well, it looks like it's done, so maybe I'll hold on for a second. Alright, so the server is up, and I'm going to log in as root. And I am able to log in. First thing I'm going to do is run DNF upgrade. Actually, we'll do a update and DNF upgrade. I'll do yes. And I'll let this run and come back once it is complete. Alright, so patches are done. Patches are done, and I'm going to install Vim. So now I'm going to take a look at the SSH config file. So first thing I'm going to do is disallow root login. I'm going to set a login grace time of 60 seconds. And for now, it's going to be it. Then system ctl restart sshd. And I'm going to take a look at the network scripts. I think I have to install this. Network scripts is here. Let's look at the status of the network, and it doesn't, it's not found. Alright, so it looks like it might just be DNF install network scripts. So I am just modifying the interface to turn on and off certain things. So I am turning off IPv6 and I am disabling DHCP for, again, this is for the template, and we'll leave. I'm going to get rid of the UUID and leave this as on boot, yes. So I'm going to take a quick look at the IP address that the system has right now. And it has 242. So I'm going to do IP ADDR equals 10.0.51 to 42. Prefix is going to equal 24. Gateway is going to equal 10.0.51.1. And we'll look at resolve.conf. I can stay for now. And I'm going to do system ctl start network. And then do system ctl status network. And then I'm going to shut down minus R now. We're going to load the new kernel. Alright, I'm going to log back in. Alright, so, oops. So the one thing I didn't do, I'm going to disable Net Manager. And reboot again just to make sure template is good to go. Alright, so now I'm going to take a look. So it's not working. Perfect. So all I should have to do now is systemctl enable network. And so now it should be enabled. And there we go. So what I'm going to do is reset the username and password to the root account and the local admin account. But I'm going to SSH into the box to do that. So I'm going to open up PuTTY. And then I'm going to SSH to 10.0.51 242. And I'm going to accept that. Log in as our admin with the temp password. And while I'm here, I'm just going to type in that. Alright, so I'm going to go to the password database, which is Bitwarden, and generate a password. Paste that in. And now I'm going to sudo with the new password. excuse me. Alright, so now I'm going to generate a new password for root. Just making some notes. Alright, so we're going to generate a new password for root. And I'm going to see if I can SU using that password, and I can. Alright, so next up, so what I'm going to do now is sudo su to lmn. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is generate an SSH key using SSH key gen. I'm going to create a 4096-bit key. Yeah, I'm going to store it there. I'm not going to edit a password. And then I'm going to cp id rsa.pub to authorized keys. And what that will let me do is SSH into any template that is generated automatically. And this is only for initial automation. Alright, so I'm going to leave that. I do need to do vi sudo. It dawned on me that I had this thing so tiny. Sorry about that. Let's make some quick adjustments. Let's drop this up to 14. Alright, so what I want to do in here is comment out these lines. So the reason I'm doing this is because I will be adding in LDAP authentication using a two-factor token that means that user accounts will not have a password in the future. So to test this, we'll log out completely and duplicate the session. So I'll log in as LAdmin. Then I should be able to sudo. Alright. And for a template, I think that is all I am going to do. For now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shut this down. And what I'll do is I'll probably make some additional changes over the course of the videos. I just need it. Alright, so I'm going to convert this into a template. And you are able to see our new template here. So that's going to conclude our video for today. I appreciate you guys watching, and as always, if you like this video, please click the like button. And if you have a comment or a suggestion, please leave it in the comment section below.